Every day, more than 90% of global trade travels across the ocean. Oil, food, electronics, military equipment, all moving through invisible highways across the sea. And above those highways, one country stands guard: the United States. But why does America spend billions controlling oceans thousands of kilometers away from its own shores? And what happens if that control disappears? For thousands of years, civilizations understood one thing: whoever controlled the sea controlled trade, and whoever controlled trade controlled wealth, power, and influence. The ancient Greeks understood it. The British Empire mastered it. And after World War II, the United States inherited it. Today, the global economy depends on ships, massive container vessels carrying almost everything modern society needs: cars, phones, medicine, food, oil, even the parts used to build military weapons and aircraft. Most people never see this system because it operates silently, far away from cities and everyday life. But without it, modern civilization would slow down within days. Across the oceans of Earth, invisible highways connect continents together. Thousands of ships move across these routes every single day, and many of those routes pass through extremely narrow locations called choke points, tiny passages that hold enormous global importance. One of them is the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow stretch of water between Iran and Oman. Nearly one fifth of the world's oil passes through this single location. For decades, military strategists feared one possibility: what happens if this route is blocked? Now, the world may be getting its answer because the conflict is no longer theoretical, it has already begun. Tensions exploded after the United States and Israel launched strikes connected to Iran. And in retaliation, Iran moved to threaten one of the most important trade choke points on earth, the Strait of Hormuz. Suddenly, the global economy realized something terrifying. A single narrow passage could affect the entire planet. Oil prices surged. Shipping companies became nervous. Military fleets moved into position, and the world watched closely, wondering if anyone could truly reopen the route if Iran decided to fully lock it down. Because geography gives Iran a powerful advantage. The strait is narrow, extremely narrow, and Iran spent years preparing for this exact scenario. Missiles hidden along the coastline, fast attack boats, drones, naval mines, underground military bases, everything designed around one objective: control the entrance to the Persian Gulf. And this reveals a deeper truth about geopolitics. You do not always need to conquer the world directly. Sometimes you only need control over the routes the world depends on. Because when oil stops moving, economies begin to panic. And when global trade slows down, the effects spread everywhere: fuel, food, shipping, manufacturing, even financial markets, all connected to the sea. And suddenly, the oceans no longer feel distant. They become the center of global power itself. For years, many believed the balance of power in the region was stable, that no country would risk pushing the global economy to the edge. But after the strikes connected to Iran, that calculation began to change. Because Washington may have underestimated one critical reality: Iran was never trying to match the United States ship for ship or base for base. Instead, it focused on geography, on choke points, on the narrow passageways the world depends on. And now, one of those passageways stands at the center of a global crisis: the Strait of Hormuz, a route so important that even the threat of disruption can shake the global economy. Tankers slowed down, insurance costs surged, naval forces moved closer, and suddenly, the question was no longer whether the strait mattered. The question became, who truly controls it? Iran argues that, like many strategic waterways around the world, the region should operate under rules that guarantee secure passage while respecting regional power and sovereignty. The Strait of Hormuz lies directly beside Iran's coastline. On the opposite side, Oman. Not Washington and not London, not some distant superpower thousands of kilometers away. And from Iran's perspective, that raises a dangerous question. If the strait sits beside Iranian territory, then why should outside powers dominate it? Why should foreign fleets patrol waters sitting at Iran's doorstep? Because geography creates power. And in geopolitics, geography often matters more than written agreements. Iran spent decades preparing for this moment to ensure that no hostile force could completely control the waters surrounding Iran. But the United States sees the situation very differently because for Washington, the Strait of Hormuz is not just Iran's neighborhood. It is one of the most important economic arteries on Earth, a route the entire global economy depends on. And that creates a direct collision between two completely different visions of power, one based on regional geography, the other based on global dominance and unrestricted trade. And now, those two visions are colliding in one of the most dangerous choke points on Earth.